Welcome back, ladies and germs, to another rousing edition of Wine and Wisdom, and that's my new opening.
New intro.
My new intro is I'm gonna spit the cork right in your face. I'm spitting it right in your face.
No disrespect.
No disrespect. I am your host for Wine and Wisdom, the Matt Kane, and I'm joined by, and I feel like I always do this every time my guest is here. Hopefully it doesn't creep them out. This is one of my boys, one of my homies, Mr. Haden Rupnik. How are you, my friend?
I'm great. How are you?
Yay! Give it up for him. Thank you for coming on my show.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
I can't wait to talk to this gentleman. Oh, God, I've known you for... Well, we'll get into it. So you can check us out here on YouTube. If you're watching us, subscribe. Hit it right there. Bang! Hit that button. Make sure you get the notifications. Maybe even throw a thumbs up, a like. And if you are listening in podcast land, leave us a review. It helps us in the ratings because we need to get out there to as many people as possible, dude. So yes, Wine and Wisdom. If this is your first time watching and or listening, the show is pretty self-explanatory, right? Have you watched any? Have you listened to any?
Clips.
Don't bullshit me.
I watched clips.
Okay.
I watched the whole thing.
It's better than nothing. But what we do on the show is we drink wine
Okay.
and we get wise.
I could use some wisdom.
Yeah, we all could. We're going to talk about life. We're going to meet behind the veil and figure out what the hell it means to be a human being. Try to learn from each other, grow from each other, and just, get wise. Yeah, learn a couple things that will help us along in our journey called life. So, without further ado, let me grab the wine that I popped off earlier. We're drinking this week. We got a retread, I know, but it's great. It's good shit. We're drinking Dark Horse Cabernet, Sauvignon. Meriwether had a good time trying to
whatever that means.
Figure that one out. But yeah, Cabernet, and check this out. You ready for this? Y'all ready for this? Give it up, you sons of bitches. Wait, let's get a thumbnail here real quick. Ready? Go.
Am I supposed to be pointing?
Yeah, do something. Okay. So we have wine glasses, y'all. Holla, holla. Okay, so, yeah, like I'm moving up. I'm moving up in the world. Now I officially have wine glasses. Don't mind the little, imperfection there. But, yeah, let's do it. Are you much of a wine drinker, Mr. Rupnik?
I'm more of a beer drinker, so this will be different.
Yeah? You're a beer guy? Mm-hmm. Hey, beer guy! I am definitely a wine. Clearly, I host a podcast called Wine and Wisdom. I'm a wine gal.
Wine gal.
Wine, then vodka, and then an occasional brewski, But I've always been a fan of wine. But you told me you're going to have this wine at your wedding. Mm-hmm. And we're going to talk about that here in a second. So let's, without further ado, and I won't give you too much. I know you're driving, so don't drink and drive, ladies and germs. There it is.
Oh.
Make sure you swirl it around, and you look at the legs, you sniff the bounty.
Put it out, pinkies out, swirl it.
Well, you're supposed to drink it like this.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Here's the deal.
Here you go.
Here's the deal. Yes, well, you don't have to have a pinky out, but if you hold it like this and drink it,
It warms it up.
yeah, it's going to oxidize those,
I don't know how
flavonoids
much I'm
and
going to
grapes and all
enjoy
that
this,
stuff. But don't drink it just yet, because we got cheers. Oh, I didn't do the ASMR this week. That's all right. We don't need it. But we're ASMR cheers. Oh, yeah. So here we go.
Not a huge fan of wine.
Oh, that's good. You don't like that?
Not a huge fan, but I'll drink it. Because you know why? I'm on wine.
Look at the legs. But look at the legs. You see it? So here's another thing.
What does that mean, legs?
So, on the glass, do you see that? What's the leftovers, if you will? If it takes a while for it to move its way down the glass, that means it's a higher quality, right? Because it's thicker, right? If it kind of goes down quick, then it's more, watery, thinner, right? Okay. So you can see the legs are really running. Well, got some long legs, just like you, baby. Okay, so let's get to it. Mr. Haden Rupnik. First off, who the fuck? And by the way, you can cuss.
Oh, okay.
So get one out.
Fuck.
It's a good one. Who the fuck is Haden Rupnik? You gotta make sure he takes a sip first. He's gotta get ready for this. That's your first question.
Oh. I'm sorry. I thought you were introducing me.
No. I just did.
Well, what do you want to know?
The answer to that question.
I don't even know how to answer. I'm being honest. That's one. So,
Okay.
in, like,
All right.
example, in a job interview, when someone asks
Yeah.
me, "Who are you?"
Ooh.
I hate that question because I'm like, "Well, what do you want? Do you want to know my childhood? Do you want to know where I
Yeah.
was born? What do you want to know specifically?"
I don't know who's Haden Rupnik, but I guess I gotta get specific here.
Yeah, I never know how to answer that question.
All right, it's cool. No worries, brother. No worries. So, how old are you?
24.
What's your sign?
Taurus.
Oh, he's a bull. Just like... Well, that's not a bull.
That's a horse.
Damn it. I'm an idiot. Why am I writing this down?
Oh, well, it makes you look sophisticated.
Taking notes.
Taking notes.
This
Get you a
study.
legal pad.
So 24. And, well, how about this? Let's lead off with this. You're a twin.
Mm-hmm. Identical twins.
So, I'm trying to think. I've not known very many twins in my life. I have an aunt and uncle. No, I'm sorry, not an aunt and uncle. I fucked that up. I have two aunts that are fraternal twins.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that means they share different womb, right? Is that how it worked?
Well, there's only one womb.
I'm sorry. They're oh god. Wow. No, they shared the same womb, but
Different egg.
Different
Different egg.
Okay.
Two eggs that got fertilized
That's
at once.
right.
I believe. I could be wrong. I'm sure someone, if there's a
Yeah.
doctor in the comments, will say something. But
Yeah.
I believe identical is same egg
Okay.
split into two embryos. I believe.
Got it.
I could be 100% wrong on that, but
Okay, interesting. See, it's always fascinating me. Now, I'm not like, what was the Nazi scientist that was like so obsessed with twins?
I don't know the name of it. But I
I
know
was
what
gonna
you're
say
talking
Mendel,
about.
but that's not it. But it's always been interesting to me twins because obviously, what percentage of the population are twins? Do you
That I don't know. But remember, Mariah is also a twin. My fiance,
Okay.
Mariah is also a
okay.
twin.
We'll get into that.
Yeah.
But
It's weird.
But anyways, it's always been fascinating to me, like twins, because obviously it just would be. I try to put myself in the shoes of like, what would it be like if I saw another motherfucker that looked exactly like me looking at me?
You
Right?
can't have two good-looking people in the same room.
How was that growing up? Was that bizarre? By the way, Mengele, not Mendel. Joseph Mengele, the angel of death, he was obsessed with twins. He was the Nazi scientist that
I
experimented.
knew the Nazis were obsessed with twins,
did
but
all
I didn't know
kinds of
the
shit.
scientist's name.
So yeah, what was it like, man?
You share everything. I mean, bedroom, toys. My mom would match us in the same clothes. Birthdays, we never had our own birthdays. It was always the same birthday, but we had two different cakes, but it was the same birthday. So we shared everything, and he was the person I went to talk to cry to give good news to. I kind of feel bad for my older brother because I definitely wasn't as close with him.
See, I forget you have an older
Yeah.
brother.
So I'm definitely not as close with him as I am with Ethan because he doesn't look like me, and we don't share the same things.
Yeah. Who's older?
Ethan by 20 minutes.
20 minutes. You were like, I'm chilling out.
He was 5 a.m. I was 5:20 a.m. So close to that 4:20, that glorious 4:20.
So, people will say like, if you're a twin, you have this like mystical bond. Like, you hear stories where one twin feels pain that another twin will feel something. Have you guys had any experiences like that?
I wouldn't say that. I would say I sympathize with him a little more. So like if he's upset, I'm definitely more upset than like if my older brother was upset about something, or if Mariah was upset with something. I definitely sympathize with Ethan more than anybody in the world.
Yeah. And that's the thing, not just because like you're brothers, it's because you're twins.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't know, revelation. You're twins. Now it's interesting because obviously, because you guys are very close, right?
Mm-hmm.
Were you guys, and you've always been really close.
Yep.
See, that's cool because I'm not really that close to my brother. No, we're not twins or anything, but we're not the closest. I'm not really that super close with my siblings. I love them to death. I'd do anything for them. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
We're just like really different individual people,
Mm-hmm.
and our parents got divorced when I was 5. So like, I grew up with them, but like there would be times where like, okay, maybe I'd stay with my mom for a summer, and my brother and sister would stay with my dad, so we didn't see other as much as But so yeah, with your brother, like, do you? How do I want to put this? Like, how are you guys different?
We're different in the aspects of...
Because I know here. Let me preface this. I've known both of these. I've known both of these because he lives next door. I know both of these. I've known both of these motherfuckers for 10 years, 12 years, right?
10 years. 11 years. I was 13 when I met you.
So 11 years. I mean, he was like, you know, so you weren't sucking on your mama's thumb.
My mom's thumb or my thumb?
I was gonna say something else.
I knew you were going with that.
You're, you know what I was trying to say. So, I have seen you guys grow up, and I see the differences between you two. Not only clearly physically, there are there are very much differences you can see physically, but I definitely notice the personality traits that are different. But how would you guys say you're different? How would you say you guys are different?
So, anywhere from like the basics, like Ethan's favorite color is blue, my favorite color is green. I'm right-handed, he's left-handed. All the way up to like there are some political things that he believes are right, and there's some political things that I disagree with him on. There are times where he's definitely the more emotional twin. He takes things to heart. He's still suffering from depression from my childhood, back when my parents split. He still suffers from that. I'm more numb to things like that.
Yeah.
More numb to more emotional things. But he's way more emotional than I am. He gets a lot of that from my mother, and I think I get a lot of my lack of emotion from my father.
You know, it's interesting. Because I would agree, but I would also say there are certain things I could see you being more emotional at than him. You know, but it's also interesting because I know he's going into he's more into like tech and computers and shit. And you, what do you do for a living?
I'm a firefighter EMT.
So firefighter EMT. He saves lives.
I wouldn't go that far. I haven't done that much, but
have you saved anyone's life yet?
I would say, in my opinion, life-saving isn't so much of, I pulled this person from a burning building, or this person almost died, but I saved him. Like, I mean, I'm taking someone who has, if you call 911, it is your worst day of your life. Nobody ever wants to call 911.
Yeah.
So, if I'm interacting with you, if I can make your day better on your worst day of your life, then I believe that is something to do with saving your life. Now, have I driven really, really freaking fast to the hospital because someone's having a heart attack? Yeah. Do I believe that could have saved their life? Yeah. But I believe every person that you come in contact with, especially even outside the fire service or EMS service, you know, like if you say hi to someone at a store or talk to your waitress and you're really nice about everything, you don't know what she's going through at home or outside of this. She could be on the brink of suicide, hurting herself, whatever. If you impact them positively, you're saving that person's life, in my opinion. Because that person may needed that friendly smile, that friendly face.
You know, I believe it Plato said that be kind to all you meet, for they're fighting a battle you don't know anything about. So that's what I try to live. And that's hard sometimes when you have an asshole. I'm sure you've had patients that are like,
I just talked about that lady. I was changing her tire.
Well, they didn't hear.
Yeah, well.
But anyway, you know, you don't know what, you're right, you don't know what that person is going through. So try to empathize and sympathize with somebody. But that being said, have you gone through any traumatic experiences while on the job so far?
So I'm still fairly new to the job. I haven't seen as much as someone who's been there for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And the department I work at isn't very busy as much as I'd like it to be. But I mean, I have seen through clinical time through school, I've been there when people have been shot. I've been at the fire department that I was doing clinical riding at where some guy got shot. My old job at a private ambulance group I won't mention the name of, we did body removal for a fire department. And so I've seen a lot of dead bodies. I've seen a lot of people who got shot up by police, by other people. I haven't personally been this person's life is in my hands, because at least when I saw those people who got shot, I was under the guidance of an instructor. But yeah, I've seen some nothing that I go home and it haunts me. I'd say the first time I saw a dead body, that kind of shook me for a day or two, but then I was like, well, it's life.
Yeah.
So that's my attitude when I go into something. When those tones go off and I hear if I were to hear 80-year-old man got shot in the head, I'd be like, my adrenaline's gonna go up. I mean, that's natural reaction, but at the end of the day, I don't take my business home with me.
Yeah.
I'll go home. I'm very lucky that Mariah is a nurse and she understands everything I go through. So I'm very lucky that I can go home and talk to these people and talk to her and talk to my friends who are also in the same career field. So I try not to take any business home with me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is, you have a lot of people who, whether they are nurses, doctors, etc., you're going to see some fucked up shit.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to see some trauma, and it's a balance you have to have, because you're a human, and you have a human emotional heart.
Right.
You have compassion, you have empathy. And in order for you to do your job to the best of your ability, you have to have your heart open. You can't close it off.
Mm-mm.
That being said, you still have to understand that balance of, okay, you can't invest, you can't claim, you can't get attached to every case, because if you do, think about, I know I have an aunt who's worked in labor and delivery for X, I don't know, 30, 40, however many years. So she's seen dead babies.
Yeah.
And like you said, you can't take it home with you. You cultivate that non-attachedness where it's happening, and it sucks, and you're heartbroken over it. You are. But then if you take that home with you, how is that going to affect those around you at home? And ultimately you. So it can be a poison.
I've heard of guys, like I said, I'm not in the career field for very long, so I haven't personally seen it, but I've seen guys who've gotten messed up from it. They go home, they drink, it could lead to spousal abuse, child abuse, neglect. It can lead to a whole slew of things that, it can go wrong.
Yeah, and it'll manifest like that. And it's like anything else. It stems from your inability to let go, right? Think about a bad relationship, or think about something in your life that happened, or somebody you love that you lost. Even if it's somebody, think about somebody in your life that died, anybody out there. And your inability to let go and move on is going to kill you.
Yep.
Yes, it sucks, and you will always miss them. But, can you not cling to that, right? And see it as, and take it and grow from it, really, is yeah, so that's always interesting to me, people that are literally when people are running out of a building, you run in.
Yep.
Think about that. This guy, I told you he's a fucking hero, right? So, it takes a special kind of person to be when those alarms go off, and you're like, let's go, let's get it done. I'm sure you enjoy that. Do you get a high? Do you get a rush? Yeah?
Yeah,
it has to be an adrenaline rush.
It's kind of messed up, because it's like I said, that when they call 911, it's their worst day. I've had, I've only been on a fire department. I've done EMS prior to it, but I've only been on a fire department for, it'll be a year and I think 2 weeks. And I've had a handful of fires where it's I'm gearing up. I'm like, this is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But then I see the after effect. My first fire was some lady's ex-boyfriend tried burning her house down.
Oh my god.
So I'm in there. I'm like, this is fucking sweet. I'm learning so much. And then I get out. I'm talking to my partner. I'm like, yeah, this was awesome. And he goes, calm down. I was like, no, it was awesome. He goes, and then he pointed out to me. He's like, you see what's happening? He's like, you think it's awesome? Granted, this lady didn't see me saying this is awesome and cheering.
Still.
But he pointed out. He's like, that's the aftermath.
Yeah.
So he's like, be humble. We can talk about it later, but be humble when you're here and recognize that it's the worst day of their life.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure you enjoy. What other aspects do you enjoy? Do you enjoy like you said, helping people? Mm-hmm. And anything else in particular? I guess my question is the why. Why were you man? When you were a kid, did you want to grow up and be a firefighter? Because you hear those stories. What do you, little Timmy? What do you want to be? I want to be a firefighter.
Actually, I wanted to be a police officer for the longest time.
Okay, so you're still in civil service.
Yeah. I don't know what drove me to that. I honestly have no idea. But when I was a senior in high school, I took a class called Senior Project when you get to leave and go shadow a career field. Well, it was the first semester, and since I have an April birthday, I wasn't 18, so I wasn't able to do the Police Explorer program. So they're like, well, the fire department's okay with you coming and just shadowing. So I went and did that, and I don't remember his name, but I'll never forget his face. I'll never forget what he did. He asked me, he's like, what do you want to be when you, after this? And I said, I can't decide if I want to be a police officer or a firefighter. And he said, police officer, you have to go be in school to carry a gun. He goes, being a fireman, you just sit in a recliner and you can walk around like this with your gun. And it was the funniest thing. And I also volunteered with Muscular Dystrophy Association at their summer camps, and oh my god, I'm going to get yelled at for not remembering this union name. It just slipped my mind. IAFF, I think is the... Okay. I always mix up the letters. That union is, and fire service are very big with Muscular Dystrophy Association.
Okay.
That's their charity that they help out all the time. So I got to talk to a lot of firemen there and get more information, and now I'm here.
Well, I've always said, and just to pull back the veneer, so to speak, you were, like I said, I've known you since you were 12, 13, and then I've seen you grow up and mature, kind of, being a student of mine and then being like directly under me and teaching martial arts. So I've always said this about you, that you've always had a big heart, and that you're, it's going to sound weird, but you're husband material. Right?
You trying to say something?
Well, after the show.
I don't think Brian appreciates it.
No, in terms of, like, not everybody is, like, cut out to be a husband or a dad, or like, you know what I mean? Like you, and I've told you this, and don't take this the wrong way, but I've always said you're like the oldest 23, now 24-year-old I've ever met. Because you go to bed at like 9 a.m. and eat grits and Metamucil. I'm just kidding. But
grits and Metamucil.
But you're like, you're mature. I'm not saying you can't have fun and be immature,
right.
But you're like already like an old man in a lot of ways, and that's a good thing.
And that's and I stem that back from when my parents split. So, and if any of my family happens to be watching this or will watch this, I'm not insulting anybody at all. I think God, I think a higher being, whoever it is up there, that.
Well, let's get into that real quick. What do you believe in? Anything particularly?
I believe in God.
Okay.
I mean, I don't go to church, but
long white beard.
Looks like you, just a little longer.
Oh, sexy. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I thank God that this happened. I mean, because I want to say I was like 9 or 10 years old when my parents split. I don't exactly remember the age. Well, Ethan sank into a huge depression. My older brother's autistic, and my mother also sank into a depression, and she's got MS, so she's handicapped. Yeah. So I'm sitting here. I have 3 people now. I'm now juggling, trying to make sure that everything is okay. Yeah. And my dad, my dad didn't just up and leave. He didn't. I mean, he made sure everything was okay. He gave my mom the house. He moved close so that he could still see us on the weekends. But I resented my dad for so long. I did not want anything to do with him. I went to his house because I was forced to go to his house by my mom. Yeah. I think it was around when I was 18, I moved back in with him because my mom moved down south. And looking at how my half-brother, who's now 7, 6, and my stepbrother, who's now like 13, 15, somewhere around there, I see a difference in parenting. And I can see the negative attributes to what's going on now. It's not as socially acceptable to what my dad, how he would discipline us, to how it is now. And I looked at him one day and I realized if you wouldn't have done all these things, like if you wouldn't have hit me when I needed hit, punished me, do all these things that made me hate you, then I wouldn't turn out to the person I am today. And he said it best. He said, your father cannot be your friend. Your parents can't be your friends. Yeah. Their job is to love you, nurture you, and make sure that you don't go to prison, essentially. So he said it best, and it really like opened my mind up to parenting and like how like he's like, I didn't like doing these things to you. He wasn't abusive in any way. If I got hit, I usually deserved it. 99.9% of the time, I usually deserved it. But it was just that saying that your parents can't be your friends, really.
Well, because here's the thing. When you're a parent, you have to have you see things. It's just like being a leader. Mm-hmm. You're the leader of the house, right, so to speak, or the leader of your kids. When you're a leader, you have to cultivate the ability to see things that others can't. Mm-hmm. And to eliminate fear. Yep. Or lead them where they need to go. So that's the thing, is if he was your buddy and your friend, well, when he has to put his foot down and tell you no, or you have to do this when you don't want to, well, because you're too close in that respect, I'm not saying you can't be friends and friendly, but when that trumps his parental duties, that's when you get issues. And that's right. You see some kids that their development is hampered because their parents are like their friend.
Well, we've seen a lot of that with how many kids we've taught. Yeah. We've seen an abundance of that. I taught a whole school full of them.
Yeah. I said you're definitely husband material. There's no doubt about it. Speaking of that, you got a wedding coming up. Mm-hmm. By the time this airs, no, you still won't be married yet, but so what are your thoughts, man? You scared? You nervous? You excited? What's up?
I think I'm excited. Oh, I shouldn't say I think. That sounds bad. Mariah, I'm sorry. I'm excited, but it's one of those things that with big events, I don't usually get nervous until either like right before I'm going to bed the night before or early the next morning is when I'm nervous. So like it'll be June 17th, and it'll be like, you nervous yet? No, not really. June 18th, I might be nervous, but I think I'm more excited because I think she's definitely the one. You know, I mean, I don't think I could. She may annoy the living hell out of me sometimes. And I mean that in the most amount of love as I can.
Sure.
She may drive me to the edge of the cliff sometimes, but I think she's the only woman in this universe that would actually put up with my shit. I'm not the easiest person to deal with.
I know.
I expect
I
a
know
lot out
this.
of her.
I think you're a little hard on yourself, but I'd agree. That's why I posted on Mother's Day. I posted a video and some images, and it was basically me saying how awesome my mom is, and that so far, after 33 years on this planet, she's the only woman that has been able to put up with my shit so far, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, you mentioned she's the one. Hear that, Mariah? You're the one for him. When was there a moment where you're like, this my chick right here? Was there a moment when you knew she was the one?
When we got back together. So backstory.
Oh yeah, let's get into this.
We had this huge fight, and I don't know what really triggered me to break up with her. It was just I was tired of being in a relationship. I had been with her for I want to say 3 years at that point, and there was just a slew of things that I'm not going to get into. Lots of drama between her and me and some other people that just kind of caused the breakup. And I think it had been like 3 weeks it took me to realize. I was at work one day at the auction, and my work mom, shout out Tara.
Holler!
She'll be at the wedding. You'll see her.
Sweet. She single? No, I'm just kidding. But is she? No.
We'll talk later. No, I'm just kidding. She came out of the garage, and it takes.
I was the way you said
she
that.
She came out.
Yeah.
No. She came out to the garage that I was in.
Who did, Tara?
Yeah.
Okay.
And she could see I was visibly upset, and this is why she's my work mom, because anybody asked me if I'm okay, I'm like, no, it's fine. She asked me if I'm okay, like that, I started bawling. Niagara Falls down my face.
Whoa.
And she goes, what's wrong? And I told her, I said, I miss Mariah. And she goes, so what are you going to do about it? I said, I don't know if I can do anything. And she goes, and she smacked my arm and said, that's not how you should be acting. You're crying here telling me that you miss somebody, and you're not going to do anything about it. So I went to the bathroom at work, wiped my face off, called her, and she agreed to meet with me that night. And that's when I realized that if she's willing to give me a second chance after I fuckered up the relationship, yeah, I like that term, fuckered up. I screwed up the relationship, and honestly, I was kind of mean on how I did it too. I wasn't the nicest person about it, which was a huge regret in my part. But she's willing to come back and put up with my shit, and she was the one. That, and we went to a wedding, and that's when I realized, like, I would love for that to be my wedding. So,
yeah.
$3,000 later and a trip to Jared. She's got a ring on her finger.
And she's a twin.
And she's a twin. And our moms have the same first name.
It's fate. It's kismet. It's meant to be. Well, that's great. No, it's always interesting. For me, a lot of this shit, because I'm not sure. Do you believe in soulmates? What's your take on that?
I believe. See, soulmates, in my opinion, like, kind of means to me that there is some sort of fate out there for you already made. I believe you choose your own fate.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna be straight up. I think, was it Plato? Plato. Is that 2 Plato quotes?
That's 2.
He talked about, like, there's like 2 halves of one soul. I think it's a bunch of bullshit, to be honest with you. However, there's like another being out there that I feel like is you're super ultra. You have chemistry, connection, and compatibility, like, of the utmost degree that you could tolerate each other for 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, however many years. Does it mean that there could be other beings out there? Sure.
Yeah. I mean,
right?
Like, for my parents, I'm sure my parents, when they got married, they were like, yeah, we're going to be married forever. Well,
yeah.
I think it was 15, 20 years later, and my dad's remarried.
And that's the thing, is like, people change. You're allowed to. This isn't, even back then, it's stupid, but like in the 50s or whatever, when it was, you can't get divorced. Like, so let's be miserable for the rest of our lives? Fuck that shit.
Right.
You should be able to do whatever the fuck you want. Yep. Pursue your happiness and your joy. My thing, and I've said this on previous podcasts, check them out in the archives.
Shameless plug.
Yeah. I've said that what happens when you fall in love is that person turns something on in you, and I don't just mean turns you on, baby. So I'll make you Randy. No.
I'll make you Randy.
I don't mean that. I mean, it turns something on in you that where you're like, wow. Like,
Butterflies.
right? Think about when you first time you fall in love, you're like, holy shit. What's this? Can I get more of it? Let's go. Right?
It's your drug. Love is your drug.
Well, it we all yearn to get into that feeling, that whatever you want to call it, that high, where you're one, where you're connected, where you're the universe, where you're God, whatever. Mm-hmm. We all crave that feeling. So when you fall in love with somebody, they turn it on in you. It's like a light switch that flips on. But here's the problem. We get addicted and attached to that feeling, but also to that person, because they're our source.
Right.
Well, what happens when that source is no longer the source? Right, like so your parents.
The light burns out.
Right, it's like your parents changing, or you lose them, what have you. Well, we have to be able to let go of that, right? And that's why, for me, it's so interesting, seeing people that are like truly madly in love, and they've been in love for married for however many years. Because my parents were married for I think like 9 years or some shit.
Right.
And so I've not they divorced when I was 5, so I'm seeing couples together married for like a long time freaks me out. It's like, what the fuck? This is a thing? Mm-hmm. So how can we be whole and complete and turn that feeling on in ourselves and love ourselves without the need of another person? And I'm not saying you still can't love them with all your heart and have passion and joy, but just not cling to it so much. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think a big thing with relationships nowadays too, and I'm gonna sound like an old man, but I truly believe it. Think about it. Like, other than the rule of you're not allowed to get a divorce, you can't do this.
Yeah.
These people also didn't have like Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, Instagram, Tinder. Cheating wasn't so accessible,
Right.
It wasn't like you could just hop on Facebook and message a booty call or whatever.
Adult friend finder.
Right, right. Hot singles in your area.
Yeah.
I believe that technology is a huge thing. So like, Mariah and I have a rule, like if we're watching TV together, no phones. If we're out to dinner, no phones. And if we're laying in bed together, like we have to talk about our day first when we get home. Because I want that communication. Communication, I hate, because like early on in our relationship, before we matured as a couple, there were times where she wouldn't tell me something, or I wouldn't tell her something, or that was like, well, I feel like we have nothing to talk about. Well, it's because we never tried talking about anything. It was always just like, oh, hey, you want to come over? Sure. And then we're just sitting there on our phones.
Yeah. Poison. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the thing is, and you see memes every now and again where it's like, shows a family and everybody's on their phone and they're, nobody's connecting. But communication is the bedrock of any relationship.
Yeah.
Whether it's father-son, brother-sister, co-worker, employer-employee, husband and wife. That's the lifeblood. How do you know when something is going on, when there's an issue, unless you communicate? I had a previous relationship where I would say I'm almost an over-communicator, right? Well, I don't know about that. Maybe. But you know me, I'm very open and transparent.
Oh, yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Like, I'm honest. Like, you know where you stand with me.
If you didn't like me, I would know.
Yeah, I'd say, get the fuck out.
Why are you on my podcast?
Yeah, bitch. But no, I love having an open flow of communication. I tell all my students, I own my own business, and I teach, students, and I tell the parents of the students, and I tell the students that I have an open door policy. I have an open communication. I need to know what's going on. You let me know. Like, come to me with any issue you have. I need to know. Let me know what's going on and how I can help, right? And I think that takes some self-esteem, self-confidence, because sometimes somebody may come up to you and say shit you don't want to hear.
Yeah.
And that's why they don't say it, because they know that you're going to be fucked up over it. You're going to be sad. It's going to attack you. Well, for me, like, I don't really get offended.
No.
Maybe in the past, sure, but now, like, you can tell me anything, and I'm cool. So that's why having communication is so important to me, and open and being completely transparent, so that you can fix the issues and let it all out. Well, previous relationship that I had, again, I'm an over communicator. Well, my ex's was she was very much an under communicator, and I would do something, and it would bother her, and then she'd bring it up like 3 months later, randomly out of nowhere. We'd be driving, all of a sudden, hey, remember when you did that thing? And I'm like, no. It's like, yeah, well, I do, and it bothered me. And I'm like, why didn't you tell me?
I'm gonna be honest, I'm kind of that person. That's one thing I'm working on with Mariah is that, like, I don't, growing up especially, I never talked about my feelings because I had, like I said, my brothers who had their issues, my mom who had her issues, so I was like, wasn't that I wasn't allowed to talk about it, is that I didn't want to add to those issues.
Sure.
So there'd be times where Mariah does something and she'll like sneeze. This is no exaggeration. I don't yell at her for sneezing, but she could do something little sneezing, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like I said, I don't yell at her for sneezing. It's like she's already doing something that's irritating me that she's probably done 50 times, and then
just boils it over.
And then it just blows, and she's like, well, you have to talk to me. You can't just blow up on me. So that's something I am working on with her. That was my.
Well, that's the thing. Is if you let it sit, if you let those feelings eat you up, right? If you don't express them and communicate them, they will eat you up, and they will fester the relationship.
Yep.
That's why communication is so fucking huge. You know, sure, one person may get pissed off, like, how dare you say that? But after a while, they may settle down and be like, you know what? I appreciate you saying that, being open and honest. And again, it stems from, like, personally for me, I'm dedicated to the truth, whatever that is, however you want to define that. I'm dedicated to it, and I'm gonna. Now, it doesn't mean I'm gonna be an asshole. Like, I'm gonna be candid, but I'm gonna be kind about it, right? I'm not gonna be like, hey man, your shit's fucked up. You suck. Like this and this. I'll tell you what needs to be said, but I'm gonna do it about it in a nice way. Because there are people on the opposite end of the spectrum that they don't give a fuck. They'll say whatever the fuck they want to whomever the fuck they want.
Yep.
Well, like Maya Angelou said, a person will forget what you said, they'll forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel.
Yep.
Right? So you have to be sensitive to that. So I come at you, I bring you the truth, I'll bring you open communication, but I'm gonna package it nicely. Right?
It's not about what you say, it's how you say it.
Exactly. Body language is 60% of communication. So just how you convey to somebody. I try to keep an open, we need to talk. Right? Which is, kind of how my dad did. That's why when you're talking about, resenting your dad and shit, like, a lot of lights were going off for me. Listen, no, my dad was on the podcast. Love you, Dad. We're cool now. Cool as fuck. It's awesome. But, if you go back in the archives of Leave episode 7, he talked about, we hashed it out. Like, it sucked. I resented him. I hated him growing up. So I get that. I understand that. But that's sometimes how we communicate. Son. Instead of like, hey, like we would do when we would teach kids. And this is a little tip for all y'all parents and teachers of kids. If the kid's shorter, which significantly shorter than you, don't do this.
Don't stare over them.
Stand up and go, all right, we need to talk. Get to their level. Take a knee and go, hey, let's talk about this. So, anyways, communication, man, it's everything. I'm glad you guys are. Copacetic. It doesn't mean you're not perfect. And, that's the thing. How long have you been in a relationship with her?
5 or 6 years. She's going to kill me by ass. I can't remember 5 or 6 years.
Go 6. It's still in the, like, infant phase of a relationship, right? I'm not an expert, but...
On the broad scheme of, like, you have older generations, like 50, 60, 70 years of...
You're 10% of that.
Yeah.
And my longest relationship was 5 years, so I'm not saying I'm speaking from a level of expertise, but... You're going to grow and learn. You're going to learn so much about each other. And that's what's groovy. Yeah, I said that. That's just so cool about human relationships is every human relationship you have, you learn something from somebody.
Yep.
Like, even right now. Like, that's why I like this show. I'm bringing people on. Because whatever our dynamic is, I can learn from you and grow. Like, I think there are so many different methods and paths that you can take to grow. Because you'll hear some people say, well, I'm going to be single so I can work on myself. Right? And you can do that. Or I'm going to be in a relationship so that I can work on myself. You can do that too. Right? Or I'm going to, whatever. So that's what's so interesting and unique is it doesn't matter. Like, as long as you use every relationship, everything in life to help you grow.
Yep.
You look like you're going to say something. You're
no.
You're chomping at the bit. But relationship, there's a great book. I've said this before on the podcast. And it's called Embracing the Beloved.
I think I've heard of it.
It's beautiful. Great book, but it's about using relationship as a vehicle for awakening, for growth, for elevating your consciousness. And ultimately what the premise of that book is, yes, using relationship with other ultimately is a means to elevate the self. Fuck! Alright. You want to spin the wheel?
Spin the wheel.
He's like, what? Let me pull it up here if I can find it.
Oh, we're going to call this personal information.
Yeah, Tiny. I think a Tiny Decisions is what it's called. There it is. Shouts out to them guys. All right, look at this. Wait, right here. Let's go. Let's do. Oh wait, it's not there. Never mind. I don't want to work as a thumbnail. Okay. So here's. It's like, what the fuck is going on? She needs more wine for this. Hey, you got a little sip left. So what's gonna happen? This is the wheel of wisdom. What we're gonna do is we're gonna spin this.
Okay.
And where it lands, that will be the topic we discuss. There's some fucked up ones on there.
I was gonna say suffering, death.
Death. Ah! Okay, so here.
I love the fact that you have passion, happiness, suffering, death, forgiveness.
Oh yeah. Okay, so here you go, big boy. You get to spin it. Tap it. There it is. Passion. Yeah, that's a good one. That's funny. This talk about fate. This was meant to be. I literally just added that to the list. Passion today.
Yeah, sweet.
So this was meant for you.
Brand new wine glasses. Brand.
Oh
new
my
topic.
god. So let's talk passion, my brother. What is something you're passionate about?
My job, my career.
Yeah.
Mariah, I'm passionate about. Expanding my life. You know, just all around, just becoming better. You know, I mean, there are things in this, like specifically recently in my life, is like this career field. There's been a lot of times in my career field right now that I'm like, oh crap, I messed up on this. And then it was like I had like a couple weeks of just bad things happening at work. It was like, okay, I messed up this, I messed up this, I messed up this, and I was like, well, now everybody hates me. So this, like, it sucked. So my biggest passion right now is getting better. So I'm training a lot more at work. I'm working out a lot more at work. I'm trying to learn as much as I can.
Oh shit.
My free time, I'm passionate about riding my motorcycle. I absolutely fucking love riding it. Well, if my dad watches this, hey Dad, I have a motorcycle now. My mom knows. She blessed it. She came home, or she came back to Ohio and saw it.
Right on. Well, you're a smart kid. You have integrity.
Mm-hmm.
That's something else, you know. And we'll get back to passion in a second, but you have integrity. So if there's anybody in my life that I know, it's like, I wouldn't be worried about having a motorcycle. It's you, because I know you're gonna be responsible about it. You know, you're very much a responsible guy. That's part of the husband material I talked about. So yeah, you're passionate about all those things. Any hobbies that you're like?
I love doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with you when I have time.
Right.
Honestly, just hanging out with friends, making sure that I'm living my life to the most.
Yeah, passion. Something that's interesting. You know, the ancient Greeks. I don't know if you knew this, but
Probably not.
They didn't have funerals.
Oh.
Well, I shouldn't say that. They did have funerals, but
Was it a celebration of life instead?
right. It was.
Okay.
It was like basically what they would do is instead of like people coming up and giving eulogies. Oh, hey,
He was a good man.
should. Yeah, he was beautiful. You ever notice at funerals? It's always she lit up a room. it's always.
I always thought it was funny. Like you give a eulogy and it was this person was a good person. This person was
yeah.
Instead, it should be this person is a good person.
Yeah.
They love everybody they come in contact with.
Right.
It's like yes, they're dead, but it's not like great person, dead, shitty person. It's like great person,
Yeah.
dead. They should still be great person afterwards.
I love how we're in death now on the wheel, but you know you're bringing up a good point because like. What's something, even when somebody's gone, the memories, the experiences, the feelings that there's a part of you, there's a part of them that's in you forever. So they live on, right? Mm-hmm. There's a quote that love is the only thing that transcends, you know, time and space.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, like, they were great. No, it's not used past tense. It's talking about, man, Haden, he was off. No, I can't say was. Hayden's
It's hard not to say was, because it's like drilled into you.
But you know what, if you can still convey that, yeah, their spirit's still alive, that's what we're talking about. So anyways, the ancient Greeks, they wouldn't give eulogies. All that would happen is one dude, I don't know who the dude was, but they would come up in front of everybody, probably wearing togas or some shit, and go, they would ask one question of the person that passed away. And they would say, did he have passion?
Wow.
Right?
That's actually pretty powerful, honestly.
Isn't it? You're going to cry? But yeah, think about that. So all y'all in podcast land, when your number is up, you know, like the image I get when they say numbers up, like you're at a deli and it's like number 246. It's like, you know, he's got the fucking apron. It's all like got blood and shit. It's like, oh shit. And you're like, it's like they're pushing you in. No, I don't want to go. Right? How about that for visual? See where my mind is. But think about that though. Did he have passion? How are you gonna let that permeate your life? So when it's all said and done, right? Can that person at the funeral say, "Did Haden have passion?" I objectively would say you have passion. You're a very passionate dude. Mm-hmm. So that's something to consider. Like have that imbue your everyday life. You know, you ever think about that? Where it's like, what if today was my last day? You know?
Well, and I think about that all the time. Like riding my motorcycle, driving my car, walking down the street. If for something happened, I either get T-boned in my car, or I hit something on my motorcycle, or I'm walking down the street and I get shot. I always think of a couple things. Who would show up at my hospital bedside? Who would show up to my funeral? And what would those people say at my funeral?
Yeah.
Because, you know, like, you find out who your true friends are. Like, obviously with COVID, you can't just randomly go see your friends in the hospital if they're in the hospital. But, like, before that, like, if I was on a ventilator in the ICU because I had just gotten T-boned off my motorcycle, who would come see me? You know? That's going to show you who your true friends are. Granted,
sure.
I'm not saying, like, Bob over here, who's my friend, I've hung out with him a handful of times. I'm not saying if he doesn't come to my hospital bedside, we're no longer friends. But you find out who, like, your true friends are, your best friends.
You know, you bring up a great point because it's, you know,
I didn't realize what that was. It was the cork. I'm sorry. I was like, what's laying on the floor? It's the cork.
Oh. No, you bring up a great point because you'll see that as you get older, that the people in your life that are I don't like the word meant to be, the people that are like, that truly care about you will stick around no matter what you're going through. Like if whatever you're going through in life, I'm there. You know, like if you decide, hey, you know, sorry, Mariah, or bye, or if you want a sex change, or you know, or whatever, it doesn't matter. Like I'm gonna because I love the spirit inside of you, man. I love your heart. That's all that matters. Right. Everything else is just
cosmetic,
window dressing. Right? That's the you know. But the real meat, I like your meat, Hayden.
Jesus.
But anyways, this is really, we're really like homoerotic here. Anyway, I really care about you, you know, as a friend, and you know, I'm in his wedding, so
yeah, best man number 2.
I'm repaying him for this. But yeah, those are all great points.
Save the emotion for your speech.
Yeah. This has been fun, man.
Oh yeah.
And that's what I love this about. Like, this is one of the deepest. We've had really deep conversations before, but this is definitely one of the deeper ones. But yeah, I would say you definitely have passion, and I would be there if you're.
Oh, thanks.
If you had a tracheotomy, you know, going down or whatever.
They better let me die. I've seen that happen.
Yeah.
No, don't ever want it to happen to me.
Yeah, no good. I'm sure you've seen some fucked up shit that you're like, ah.
I've seen.
But you're still riding a motorcycle.
Like for instance, like. If I had a heart attack and went unconscious and stopped breathing and had no pulse, would I want someone to save my life? Yes, but I've seen how brutal CPR is. I've seen how brutal it is, and I'm like, that's going to hurt in the morning if they come out of that.
Yeah. Yeah, they'll have some chest bruising, to say the least. Cool, man. We'll finish up with this. Any, like, if you're going to give to all the people out there, or maybe a younger version of yourself, or if you're going to save this in a time capsule and like give it to your kids down the line, what would be your number one like piece of wisdom, your wisest advice you would give?
Live life to the fullest every day. You know, just know that today may seem like a bad day, and it's not going to be your best day ever, and it's definitely not going to be your worst day ever, but keep living life to the fullest, and that it's going to be okay. You know, like, there's so many people who sit there and like, well, I want to give up. Don't give up. It's going to be okay. For instance, like, I have to keep telling myself that because working out right now, I'm hitting a wall. I don't want to do it anymore. I'm tired. My knees hurt. I'm getting old. I don't want to do it anymore. I have a fire agility test coming up at the beginning of June. I really don't want to do it. But halfway through, I always like, I don't want to do this. I'm done. Just drop the dummy. Stop running. But yeah, just keep going. Keep trucking. So like I said, it's all gonna be okay, and live life to the fullest. Live every day like you're gonna die tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a really good book called The Road Less Traveled, M. Scott Peck. He talks about how basically having a, almost, I view it as like a parrot on your shoulder, like basically of death. Like the parrot of death, if you will, on your shoulder to remind you, hey man, like a constant reminder, but in a good way.
Yeah.
Not like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. Yeah, of course we're all gonna die. No
Every day's
shit,
not
Sherlock.
guaranteed,
And we've talked about this on the podcast before. Like the earlier you chew up death, the easier it is to digest it later.
Yeah. Yep.
So having that on your shoulder as a reminder, like you said, tomorrow's not guaranteed. It just imbues this moment with with added richness. All right, like Achilles said in the Iliad. It's like I'm dropping a bunch of bombs today. He says to Briseis in the Iliad, because she worshipped the gods, right? All the ancient Greek gods, and she's like, why do you not fear the gods? Because he would like go and cut the heads off of the gods in the temple and shit. And he goes, the gods fear us as humans.
Yeah.
Because we're not immortal. So every day is beautiful. Right? So, wow. We just got deep. Hell yeah. Cool, man. Hey, dude. It was a pleasure having you on the podcast.
Pleasure being on.
Please come back again.
I will, yeah.
We'll talk. We'll get, we're just scratching the surface here, man. Any particular, you want shout-outs you want to give, or any social media links if people want to follow you, anything you care about there?
Yeah,
He doesn't give a shit. Okay.
I'm not big on social media. I just go on there to keep up with friends.
I feel you, dude. I feel you. But cool. For Haden Rupnik, had to get it in. Haden Rupnik, my man. The Matt Cain. Yeah. It's interesting. Every time I say the Matt Cain, like part of me's like, wow, you're an egotistical prick, narcissist. Because people that really know me know I'm very humble. Like I'm very much like I have a lot of humility. But the Matt Cain's my social media because Matt Cain was already taken. But anyways, yeah. So that's my thing. So anyways, for Haden Rupnik and the Matt Cain, this has been Wine and Wisdom. Stay sexy, everyone, and stay wise. We love ya. Mwah.
See ya.
Let me go get that cork.
Oh, here, okay.